award-winning instrumentalist. He actually does. He reminds me like the music that he makes is actually. I always refer his music. Manhattan. Was it Manhattan Steamheim? You know what I'm talking about? Manhattan Steamheim. I want to say Manhattan Steamheiner, but I don't know if that's Mannheim Steam. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, between the three of us, we'll
one
always
of those
get the
tough
answer.
words to say.
Yeah, really.
But he reminds me of that. That's the type of music that he makes. But yeah, he's a wonderful, wonderful musician, producer, and very, very collaborative, very easy to work with. And you know, we were working on this song for quite some time, actually, and finally decided to record it.
It's kind of ironic too. You were working on it for so long, and right off the bat, it gets an award. That's quite an accomplishment. You should spend a long time working on a lot of songs, but you just never know.
I know.
It is a great song, and you guys do work well together. It's great production, and I know that and it's been out for a while, but I know the people that have not heard your latest one, which we're going to be featuring here in just when we decide to finish talking with you and let you go, we'll play the new one, thing called Undone. I know they're going to love that because I've heard it, I've played it, and I just can't say enough about it. This is one that kind of grabs you in a multitude of ways, and I'm not going to get into it ahead of time because I'll go blow the whole thing, but I do want to give you a chance to tell us about this. You've got a couple of enterprising projects you're working on. The first I'd like to mention is you've joined us in the podcast family and have your own podcast now, mixing it with Nicki Kris. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so mixing it. So, well, I actually originally kicked off mixing it with Nicki Kris on Word of Mom Radio, but we've decided to move it to a more music-centric station. So, you know, being involved in podcasting, you know, really my goal is to interview and give an opportunity to up-and-coming artists or artists that maybe haven't had what I would call like commercial success, young artists, you know, really trying to make their way. So that was the whole premise of creating a podcast, to give them a place to have an interview that they can use and then also get them some airplay. But in conjunction with that, I've also started, and we're just now getting ready to build that out and launch it, a new organization with another musical friend of mine, Natalie Jean, but we've started an organization called Sisters in Music. So what we're doing is we're going to be kicking off Sisters in Music, so SIM Radio Network, and my podcast will be hosted on that, as well as podcasts that Natalie is going to be hosting, various other podcasts as we get them on. But yeah, so we've gone from, or at least I've gone from, a podcast on one network to all of a sudden organization, my own radio network, and podcast hosting, and now I'm building all of that out. So it's been moving very, very quickly, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we are actually, John and I are shaking in our boots for the new competition, but seriously, so glad to have you doing the same thing that we're doing in one respect, and that is giving one more stage to new emerging artists to get out there and show off their music and talents. And quite honestly, I think that you're doing this is not only a validation of your talents and your beliefs in music and indie artists, but I think it's a validation of the whole concept that has been, I think, sadly overlooked. There isn't an abundance of programs out there that are dedicated to presenting emerging artists, indie artists that have not made names for themselves in many cases. Many cases they do have a name, but they're just trying to build further. And I think it's wonderful that you have joined in an effort to do the same thing. Give these emerging artists one more stage, a whole bunch of new people to reach, and gives them a little bit of a leg up against the record companies who can put up all this money promoting talent. Here, they don't have to have a record label to do it. When there's shows like this, and the more shows like this that are successful and come along doing it, the better it's going to be for everybody. So I congratulate you. I welcome you with open arms, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, Nicki.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's Kit, actually. I have to go back to Kit. He actually inspired me because he's very much a pay-it-forward individual. So that was really the premise when I was asked to do a podcast, and thought about the concept and what I wanted to do. That was really, born out of that his methodology of, paying it forward and doing, things to help individuals was really how my show kind of was born, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I mean, everybody likes to make money, obviously, and those types of things. And, of course, we'll have advertising spots and sponsor spots, but I'm never going to charge someone to do an interview or,
absolutely,
those types of things. And also focusing on women, because I do feel that, there's, for lack of a better term, there's not a lot out there for women.
There's been an imbalance, no question about it.
Yeah, there's definitely an imbalance, and that's really the whole, Sisters in Music organization is promoting collaborative works with women, getting us to work together in all disciplines, and then the podcasting is just, part of that. So hopefully, it'll have a good following and people will enjoy it, and I think they will, because I've actually heard several women from Reverb Nation, because I was gathering individuals to potentially interview on my show, and the amount of talent, even just listening to several of the submissions that I got through Reverb, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much talent out there that people aren't even aware of. So hopefully we'll help them expand their base and give them some brand new fans.
Absolutely, and I know you're going to be getting some new fans too. John Bon Jovial?
Yeah, and Nicki, you just, you kind of touched on something diving in there like that. But, the podcasting business, podcasting industry, call it what you will, is a still relatively young phenomenon, but it's almost like everybody and their mother is doing this. So what are you going to do, or what are you doing to rise above the rest to where people are going to notice, hey, that's Nicki Kris's podcast, we've got to listen to that? What are you doing? I guess probably the basic question is, what are you doing to promote it?
Well, good question. I'm learning as I go, so I'm not ashamed or too modest to say learning, and probably have already made multiple mistakes, but a couple of things that we are doing.
Life is a learning process.
Well, yeah. It is a learning process, but a couple of the things that we are doing is we're working on getting some partnerships with some other women-run businesses, because the whole premise is the Sisters in Music type of concept. So we will be partnering with some other women-owned businesses in hopes of doing a lot of cross-promoting. I'm also going to be leveraging, or Natalie and I will be leveraging some of the non-traditional podcast potential avenues. So Instagram Lives actually can be converted to podcasts. So I plan on not just doing my regular Mixing It with Nicki Kris interview podcast, but I plan on doing Instagram Lives as well, and then asking, having those individuals that I do Instagram Lives with to perform live, while we're chatting. So
Mixing It with Nicki Kris. That's a great name.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we have Mixing It with Nicki Kris and then Chatting with Nat are the two that we're going to be launching and initially. The other thing we're going to be doing, too, is building out informational podcasts. So not just an interview aspect, but also teaching up-and-coming music artists. So this would be for anyone, have a social media podcast on, how to utilize social media or the best social media tool, those types of things. So lots of interesting topics. And then we'll be expanding into Spotify, creating more, Spotify playlists, promoting our membership, because we are going to be a membership-driven organization, and we'll be providing our members with, those types of opportunities. But partnering right now is probably going to be our biggest focus in getting our name
priority
there.
number one, right?
Yes.
And I think you've touched on an interesting point too, when you're talking about the live entertainment and what you're doing with podcasting and also going with live music podcasts. I think the pandemic, one of the few good things to come out of it is it stimulated the creative juices that have created these live from home concerts, the virtual concerts, and in this case, more podcasting, because people haven't been able to get out and see live shows. And of course, live entertainment is what has driven the industry forever. So this is a natural escape. This is a natural way to pick up that slack and carry it in a new direction. And I think that's going to be strong enough that even when the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything are all over, I think podcasting and virtual concerts are going to be an integral part of the business.
Well, I think they have to be, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Because and I also like the whole drive-in concert.
Yes.
Yes. That too has been something that I have sat there and said, oh my God, that would be so much fun, to do something like that.
Sure.
But I think that the whole virtual concert aspect is going to have to be part of, a long-term, I would say, comeback philosophy.
I agree.
For the music business, definitely.
I agree completely. Now, before we let you go here when we run out of time, want to be sure and remind you to stay in touch with us and
Absolutely.
let us know what's going on. Be sure and let us know when your new show breaks. Now, the Mixing It with Nicki is already running now.
Yeah, Mixing It with Nicki Kris. There's 4 episodes actually that were pre-recorded, and they're available out on Word of Mom Radio. I'll be transitioning over to the Sim Radio Network starting in February.
Okay.
And we have our Sim Radio Network launch is currently scheduled for the 27th of January. So we're going to launch on the 27th, and then Mixing It will be right back in February.
Well, please keep us notified of what's going on, and we'll be happy to help you spread the word both here and on our social media. Now, but before we let you go, we wanted you to tell the world a little bit about this song that we're going to play, because I love it. I love what you've done with this. I want to hear what you have to say about it before I make a final comment. So tell us, please.
You bet. So this is Undone. This actually was the brainchild of my producer, longtime co-writing partner, Kevin McNulty. James Bondish, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Definitely inspired by James Bond. I don't want to call it a James Bond theme, but, it's definitely inspired by the James Bond movies. I think he was a little upset that the latest movie was postponed, the release.
Sure.
So he kind of started thinking about, a song to go with this. So it's, like all James Bond themes, this is very it's open-ended. The interpretation of the lyrics are